Welcome back to Joe's Math Tools, where math is made easy. In this session, we will be finding the height of our triangle when we are already given the area and the base. And if you're ready to see how this is done, let's get started. So in this example, we are going to be finding the height of our triangle. And as you know, the height is that line that measures from the bottom to the top of the triangle. So our height in this triangle is labeled as B. So we will be using B to replace our height in our working. So let's dive into our formula. So we are going to start off by first writing that out, that our area is equal to half times our base times our height. I remember that this formula is written in a variety of forms, so don't be alarmed if you see it written in this form or if you see it written with the base times height over the 2. Remember that all of it means the same thing. So now let's apply our substitution. So we know that our area is equal to 30. So we replace our area with 30. We're going to put back our half. We know that the base of our triangle, and the base is always the bottom line, remember that. So our base is 6, and I'm going to be replacing my height with the letter B. So now what I'm going to do first is multiply out everything that I have by simplifying the right-hand side of my equation. So I know that I can't work out B because B is an unknown variable, but what I can do is multiply my fractions. So I'm going to do that to the side. So there's more than one ways that we can work this out, because if we have half times 6, we're just looking at basically calculating half of 6, which is going to be 3. But as always, there are some persons who probably need a little more explanation than others. So let's go through the working part so that you can understand that as well. So when we multiply our fractions, remember multiplying half times 6. 6 is a whole number, so 6 has a denominator of 1. And when 6 is multiplied to 1, we will get 6. 2 times 1 will equal to 2. And when we divide 6 by 2, we will get 3. So your ability to work through the different parts of your fraction and how quickly you work through these questions tend to always be determined by your level of skills, which is why it's so important that you practice your skills so that you can become better. Because the better you are, the easier you are at flowing through these type of questions and avoiding the extra working that isn't always necessary. So let's plug that back into our equation. So we're now going to replacing 3 with the working that we did earlier for our half times 6, plugging back in my B, which is my variable. And now at this point, we are moving into our one-step equation. And remember that 3B means that 3 is being multiplied by B. And when you have these type of equations, that means that we're now going to be dividing, since 3B is multiplication, we will be dividing both sides of our equation by our coefficient of 3. Remember, the goal is always to solve the equation to get your variable on one side by itself. And because 3 is the coefficient being multiplied to b, we're dividing both sides by 3. And remember, if this part is a little confusing to you, I do have videos on solving one-step equation that you can go back and watch just to refresh yourself a little bit. And then if need be, you can come back and finish follow along in the video. So we're going to divide 3 into 3, which will cancel, leaving us with just 1. And remember that if we have 1b, that is simply equal to just b. And then on the other side, I'm going to be dividing 3 into 30, where 3 will divide into itself once. 3 will divide into 30 10 times. So that means that my b for this question is equal to 10. So that means that my height is equal to 10 millimeters. Now, here's the good thing about these type of questions. You don't have to feel pressured afterwards to wonder if I worked this question out correctly. you can always check your answer. And remember that with solving equations, I always recommend that you check your answer. So we just solved this question and said that B is equal to 10 millimeters. And if this answer is accurate, then that means that when I go through my working again, this time since I have all of the information, including my area, everything should work out to 30. That's how I know if my question was indeed solved correctly. So let's go back and plug in all of our information. So we know that the area is 30. I'm putting back my half, being multiplied to my base. Remember, 6 is our base. So I'm plugging in my 6. And now that I have a number value for my height, I'm going to plug in that 10. So let's simplify the right-hand side of our equation. I'm going to work with the whole numbers first. So we know that 6 times 10 is equal to 60. And then we're calculating half of 60. And when we cut 60 in half, we should get 30. So remember that 60 times 1 is going to equal to 60, which is going to be divided by 2. And we have 30. And when 60 is divided by 2, this is equal to 30. And remember that once both sides of your equation is equal to the same amount, then that means that you solve your question correctly. Okay, so remember that after you solve these questions, always go back and just check your answer. Check to make sure that the answer that you got is correct. And then that will help you with also being able to even go through the steps of practicing how to solve the area of a triangle. That's still an additional practice that you're gaining right there. But as always, I hope this was very helpful to you. I hope you were able to follow along with all the information. As always, get some additional practice in, and I'll see you right here in the next video on Jules Math Tools, where I aim to make math easy.